What is yoga?
What is yoga? So I think the first thing we should probably analyze is what the word means and its origins. Um, the word yoga is a Sanskrit word. The Sanskrit language is one of two most ancient languages in the world. Um, so that's where the word yoga comes from. And the word itself means union. Union with what? Union with God, um, or Brahman, or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Okay. And
Right.
what's the most popular yoga?
Well, the most popular yoga today, is a branch of yoga called Hatha yoga. The exercises, or the asanas, which is the postures that you see people doing in the gym or at yoga studios, that falls under a branch of yoga called Hatha yoga. And it's the true, mm, like, meaning, or the true significance behind Hatha yoga and the asanas, are to get your body fit and ready for deep meditation. To for your body to be strong, flexible, but it's mainly, in essence, so that you can sit for many hours in meditation, and also, live a very healthy life. But that is not, like, Hatha yoga is, like I said, it's a branch of yoga. So it's not yoga in its totality.
Right.
Yoga has many different paths, many different branches, many different disciplines. So you could kind of see it as like yoga being like the, the science, and then underneath yoga there's different branches. So
Okay. So which one's the one that you practice?
I practice all kinds of yogas. I practice, which is the yoga of service, which is,
Mhm.
from our teachings of the Aetherius Society, is considered the most important yoga today. There's no doubt. If you look around the world, we need to be of selfless service to others in whatever way you want to do it. And there's millions of ways to be of selfless service to others. So karma yoga is the yoga of action, and that's what karma means. The word karma, again, comes from the Sanskrit language, and the word means action. So when we're talking about karma yoga, we're talking about, being in the world, in society, in the cities, in the noise, in the clatter, and being of service in whichever way you feel best to be of service. So I I don't want to say I consider myself a karma yogi. That's a pretty pretty big title, but I guess I could consider myself an aspirant, a student of karma yoga. Um and when I pray, that's a form of karma yoga. When we do or when I do the 12 blessings, which is the prayers that we do in our church, the Aetherius Society, where I am practicing karma yoga right there. Why? Because when I'm praying the 12 blessings, I'm sending energy, love energy, and healing out to all these different focal points,
Mhm.
to the Mother Earth, to the sun, to the world, to humanity, to help heal and uplift them. So karma yoga would probably be the 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 main yoga I practice throughout my daily life. And but it's not only when I pray. I try to, in everything I do, like in all the work I do and all the projects that I'm balancing now in my life, I try to make it an active service, an active karma yoga. So whether I'm creating music, I have in mind, I want this music to help heal and inspire and uplift people in some form or another. If I'm working on some video project, I want this video to help heal and inspire others. If I'm at work doing substitute teaching, I try to do it with the mindset that this is a job for God, for service. When you're working for God, you're eventually working for you're essentially working for the world selflessly, because God is good. God is all, so your karma yoga is like to me is like a mentality, and I think yoga masters would agree that it is a mindset as well, but when I study sacred texts, teachings, like I used to practice this more often. I probably should practice it more. Nani yoga. Nani yoga is the yoga of wisdom, the yoga of reaching realization, God realization, through the study of sacred scriptures and texts. So back when I was doing my religious studies degree, I have a bachelor's in religious studies, I had to read a lot of texts, and I read the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the most ancient religious texts out there. It translates to the Song of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita, Song of the Bhagavan, Lord, and it's probably one of the most important books out there to understand yoga, because Lord Krishna, who is a yoga master, he's an avatar as well. He's a being from another world, which we won't get into that right now, but he talks about these different forms of yoga. He talks about karma yoga. He talks about bhakti yoga, which is a yoga of devotion, of prayer. He talks about Nani yoga, so that's a really good book. And so anyway, I used to do more of Nani yoga. That's something I want to get into more. Mantra yoga, that's another branch of yoga, and that's the practice of sacred sounds, of sacred mantras it's a science. It's the recitation of sacred sounds that connect with the chakras of your body and get you closer to God. Because when you recite these mantras, they basically they purify you. They purify you and allow you to better experience reality or God. So every day I do my best to chant the holiest sound, really, the holiest mantra, which is the AUM. We are taught to, or at least I was taught to not pronounce that mantra in conversation because of its sacredness. So I say AUM.
Mala beads when you do your AUMs, or you just say a few AUMs?
Definitely not as big as those. Those are nice. Those are real cool. No, I don't. I actually don't use mala beads when I recite. I mean, I wear sometimes these bracelets. I like how they look. I think they look stylish, and
they're pretty stylish. I think, though, a lot of people don't know, especially if you grew up in a Catholic religion, what are mala beads. But if you compare it to the Catholic religion, it's like the rosary. Each bead is a prayer, and we use it as either mantra, each bead.
Mhm.
So that's how you can compare it. You What you say? The easiest way?
Yeah, no, that's a cool comparison. I never thought of it that way. It's perhaps that the Catholic religion adopted the rosary
Mm.
from the Hindus and their mala beads, because Hinduism, dates back before Catholicism. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me if that's where the rosary, came about. But who
They
knows? I
picked
mean,
it up, the idea. Yeah, who
yeah,
knows,
yeah.
huh?
That'd be that'd be something cool to look into. But
Yeah.
no, I don't use mala beads when I recite mantra. I have before, and I totally felt the effectiveness of it. But just I don't use it. That's just me though.
Well, mantras, they're very powerful. When I started my spiritual path, I didn't know that it was what were mantras, different type of yogas. And now that I have expanded more my, you would say, my wisdom, I can now easily compare it to more with like Catholic religion, especially like Malabites, right? Because I mean, I never knew how to use the rosary, but I learned how to use Malabites and use like the AUM, and it's very powerful. It's just very, very powerful. And I feel like people who come from a background of, being Catholic, and they're trying to get into yoga or some form of spirituality, they have to give it a try. They have to learn as much as they can and learn about what is mantra and what is pranayama and different kind of yogas in the physical. Was it physical yoga? Hatha yoga? Hatha
Hatha
yoga.
yoga, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, hatha yoga. Um,
So what would
that's
you say to
interesting.
those people?
It looks like you probably had a past lives as a Hindu or a yogi or yogini. Sorry, I should say yogini.
Who knows?
uh,
What's the difference between Catholic and being spiritual?
um, well, I'll tell you something I remember reading from Autobiography of a Yogi.
Oh, that's a really good book. Yeah.
Amazing book. It's a must-have along with the Bhagavad Gita for spiritual aspirants. Um,
They
I
actually made a movie that's on Netflix.
Yeah, yeah. Awake, the Life of Yogananda. I actually when I was back at the university, I hosted a movie night. I contacted the uh the Awake documentary people, and I said, hey, I want to host a movie night at my university. And this was before the DVD was released. It was
Oh.
actually a thing they were doing. Yeah, they said, if you want to get a copy of the movie to make a event at your university or wherever center, you can contact us, and we'll send you the
Nice.
DVD. Yeah. So before it was released. So I contacted them, and at that time I was what was it, the executive student member of the program for the study of spirituality. So
That's a
so
long title.
yeah, so anyway, I was like, all right, cool, like I really want to show people this because it looks really awesome. I had seen the trailer,
Yeah.
and yeah, they were a pretty good turnout, really good feedback. And it was a great film. But going back to your question,
Mhm.
in that book, Yogananda, I remember he says something about when he traveled to the West, to the United States. Um, he he basically said, like, the Christians that he came across, the Christian saints, were yogis. Uh, they didn't know what yoga was. They didn't know, like, the whole yoga tradition about mantra, bhakti yoga, karma, raja yoga, or anything like that. But yet, because they were saints and they had these amazing abilities, spiritual, psychic abilities, and that sort of thing, healing abilities, they were essentially yogis under the book of yoga, like that, they
Mm-hmm.
are yogis. So you don't have to be a a um a yogi by the book. You don't have to study the Bhagavad Gita and be under the mentorship of a swami or a yoga master to be considered a yogi. You could be a yogi as a Catholic, you know, or as a Jew, or any other path, because yoga is beyond religion. Yoga is purely spiritual. And he was, yeah, so I thought that was cool. He said that these Christian saints, and whether they know it or not, they are yogis. If they went to India, the Indians would be like praising them and honoring them as yogis. Essentially, the yogi is a saint too, so
Yeah, and I think in modern times right now we could adapt both religion and spirituality. You don't really have to choose one if you don't have to. But if you choose one or the other, then it's really up to you. But
yeah. I mean, if you're a Catholic or a Christian, then be the best Christian and Catholic. But if you want to open up to other forms of spirituality, like yoga,
yeah,
then great. There's a lot of resources out there. There's also a lot of misinformation out there too about yoga.
yeah.
um, so I'm fortunate enough to have found a yoga master, and a proven yoga master, Dr. George King, who has very, very simple teachings and practices, but also very, very deep and complex in some ways. But it's very practical. I resonate with the teachings of Dr. King very much. To me, it called me, but to some others it might not, and that's okay. There's other yoga masters out there, like Swami Shivananda. uh he has there's organizations that are based on his teachings. Swami
Mhm.
Vivekananda, the Divine Life Society. There's Ramakrishna. There's many yoga masters out there. You just choose, what I would say, like, is choose one path, one teacher as your main path, main teacher. And that's the best thing, because otherwise you'd be spreading your energies out everywhere. um so it's best to, like, choose one path, one teacher as your main one, and then you could study other teachers and other paths, but as long as you keep to that main one. And if that main one doesn't resonate with you anymore, it doesn't answer the questions that you have anymore, then move on to something better. um
Mhm.
you know
I
that's
agree.
what
That's
that's what I would say.
that's what I would probably do if I was, if I hadn't found the Aetherius Society, which if they want to, they have their website, www.aetherius.org if they want more information, but we'll put it on the links on the bottom. I think we also will put the books that you mentioned as well. So if people want to, read about it. There's just so much information out there, It's just like you can't put it all under one, description. But at least this is kind of like the basic of yoga. What is yoga?
Yeah. To me, like, kind of like on a more personal note, but I think also very spiritual and educational note, is that what I have found is that balance is key. Is I think that's probably one of, like, I don't know if it's really spoken about so much in the yoga teachings, but I believe it's spoken about a lot in, like, Buddhism and Taoism, is balance. And like, I have found in my own life, for example, like, I've had to balance between, you know being spiritual, doing my spiritual practices and spiritual work, and making money and living in society,
Alright.
and also my health, my physical health, being able to exercise and eat right, and
Mhm.
balance also social life, because that's a very important thing, you know um social life, including relationships with friends and families, and partners, if you have a partner, um and pets.
Oh,
um,
yeah.
in your case, pets.
Pets.
So there's like there's a lot. It's a lot of things to balance.
Yeah,
And
it's a
there's and
lot.
we could probably name a few others, but to me, those, I think, are those are the main ones.
Yeah.
So how do you balance all these different, like, you know departments of life? The spiritual,
Mhm.
the financial, the social, and the physical, and the mental too. I would say it's five. Five main departments of life that we need a balance to live a fulfilled life. So for me, like, I felt like for many years, like, I was too much in the spiritual. Like, I would do a lot of practices, and I wouldn't really pay too much attention to my physical health. Like, I
Mhm.
wouldn't really, like, do strength training and exercises that I do now. I didn't have a martial arts routine like I do now. Um, so, I was ignoring the physical. I was extremely underweight. I was getting tired all the time. Um, if you can imagine me more underweight than I am now. So I was very unbalanced, and work too, like, financially very unbalanced. Um, but I had other areas that worked pretty well, like socially and stuff like that, mentally. I was studying teachings and that sort of thing, but I was very unbalanced in other lives and in other departments. So as I got older, because I've been on this path of spirituality and yoga, and with the Ethereal Society for, I think, almost 10 years now. So it's about 9 years, 9, 10 years now. So
Wow.
I've
Time
learned,
passes.
yeah. So I've learned that balance is so, so important. So even if it means me having to, like, cut the time I do practices, spiritual practices, or serving, you know, volunteering in some way, or form or another, then that's okay, because I won't be able to serve if I'm not balanced in other areas. I won't
Yeah.
be able to serve as effectively. But you see, it's different for everybody. It's
Yeah.
different for everybody, because what might work for me spiritually might not work for somebody else spiritually. What might work for me physically, in terms of, like, keeping physically fit and healthy, might work different for somebody else. Why? Because we are all very unique and different. We all have very different bodies. We all have very different personalities and skills and abilities and characteristics. Just like, we're made in God's image. We're very unique. So
Yeah.
uh,
You have to train yourself too, because it's not
yeah.
easy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's a good thing you brought up, because Dr. King would often say, generally speaking, I won't say verbatim, but I've heard him say something like, whoever says the spiritual path is easy is a fool. It's the most difficult
It
path.
is.
The
It's
path of
difficult.
yoga, yeah, the path of yoga, which is spiritual path back to God, union with God, is extremely difficult, because there's so much distractions out there. We live in a material world. We live in a very physical, gross material world. So
And you're a
obviously,
material boy. Just kidding.
you're a material girl. So it's it's hard.
It's
It's
hard.
very hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to like remain completely spiritual. It's hard enough to be celibate, and celibate is
Mhm.
really the first, according to Dr. King, again, going back to him, I've heard him say that it's the first step. Like it's balance. So like
Yeah.
it's no good to be spiritually celibate if you're killing yourself for it, if you're killing
Yeah.
yourself about it.
Yeah.
If yeah, it's not good to force celibacy or force anything spiritual. It's horrible idea to do that.
Yeah.
It's wrong. What you should do, and what I have learned, is to gradually, very slowly, little by little. Yes, you fall, but then you get back up. You fall, and then you get back up. Fall, get back up. So it's kind of like a staircase. Do, 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 do.
Mhm.
So as long as you have that kind of approach and mentality towards your spirituality, then you're golden. I mean, like, I've seen it in myself. I've fallen I fall every day. I
Mm.
fall every day. There's no doubt. Because celibacy is true spiritual celibacy is celibacy in thought, in word, and deed. So imagine that. Like,
Yeah.
so, every day, obviously, I'm a sinner. Every day I fall. But um I still hold true to my spiritual truths, to my roots, my spiritual roots. It doesn't matter how low I sink, I still, in some form or another, always go back to God, always. And I think if we do that, we'll definitely advance. We must, by law of karma, we will advance slowly and gradually, and that's actually the most effective way today is to do it gradually and slowly, and that's karma yoga. Because in karma yoga you're serving others, so you're doing it gradually. In other forms of yoga like kundalini yoga and raja yoga, you're more focused on raising the power of kundalini,
Mhm.
which is the energy that we have that begins in the base of our spine. This is all um, ancient teachings. This is not something new. This is extremely old, but it's being in these days because we are, entering the age of Aquarius, or have entered the age of Aquarius. These things are starting to surface and become more known and popular. Um, in Kundalini yoga, we they teach that you have to focus and raise the power, um, and it could be dangerous. It could be very dangerous. Um, I I I mean, I've done practices that are Kundalini yoga related. Pranayama, for example, breathing exercises, are very mystic. They do deal a lot with the rays of Kundalini more directly than other practices. Um, and I've never gotten to a point where I would say like, oh, I was in like, a deep meditative state and I raised Kundalini fully. I've never gotten to that point, but I would say I've gotten to points where like I have felt a lot of bliss, and I can only imagine how difficult it would be to do it in a higher level with more focus, a lot more concentration, and then coming back down from that and being in society. It should be hell.
Yeah.
It should be hell. Never mind like the actual energy that a yogi has to bring back down, because you know in teachings of Kundalini yoga, they do explain that when you fully raise Kundalini, your body becomes paralyzed.
That's what they
um
say.
yeah, your body legitly physically becomes paralyzed. So until you bring the energy back down successfully. So I mean, it's something that our master, our yoga master, teaches that we shouldn't do unless under the strict supervision of, you know, a proven yoga master. um but again, going back to karma yoga, that is really the most important yoga today. And of course we can do, or I can do, you know, greater karma yoga the more I do spiritual practices, like the breathing exercises and that
Mhm.
sort of thing. But again, it's not to be forced, you know, it has to be a gradual process.
Truly agree. Truly agree.
Hmm.
Well, it is a pleasure, Ernesto, spending time with you. And I'm excited for more topics coming up in the future.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, thanks for you know, uh putting this forward, this initiative, and I'm excited too, you know, for doing
Because,
more of these talks. I'm not in LA anymore. I'm in back home in Miami, Florida. So these podcasts are really great for us to stay connected and to share, you know, what we know about yoga and millions of other spiritual subjects. So, you know,
yes,
props to
spreading the
you.
wisdom.
Yep.
Thank you, Ernesto. Till
Thank you,
next time.
Maria.